Hey everyone, VortexTCG here, and today I'm going to be showcasing you the final round of locals featuring myself playing BT12 Blue Flare, and my opponent is going to be playing BlackWarGreymon, arguably one of the best decks. Probably not one of the best decks now, but still a very strong deck in BT12. And if you're looking forward to this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot. We're aiming for 2k subs for the end of the year, and I would really appreciate your support. Anyways, we get some early aggression going on here, swinging with the male bird and the grey, and my opponent's putting up a stack in the back, but can't really do much about that, so I ended up just playing the Gaussmon here. I think it's the lowest amount of memory I could potentially get him to, unfortunately, so if it was at 1, I think it would be a lot more better, but it is what it is. So he's now got 2 memory to play with. He's got an Agumon on board and a Greymon coming in. The Greymon is obviously a bit of a threat because he can swing into one of my Greymons or the male bird, and then also go for maybe a metal grey to then delete the other one. So, bit of a problem. He uses the Greymon X to swing into the male bird and the black Greymon to go into the my Greymon. So at this point I've kind of lost a lot of control of this game, if I'm being honest. The early aggression was pretty good, but I guess it's just a case if my opponent is going to have all the pieces, and he has the metal and I can't play anything with the Gauss, so very unfortunate for me. Obviously I wish I could play something with the Gauss, but it is what it is, and I stun both of the metal bird, the metal grey and the Greymon. This should at least get me to 1 security, but not too sure if I should even go for that. Maybe I should start clearing the board, but the problem is that I don't have enough DP to get rid of the metal grey stack because that's at 8k, and the metal grey is also at 8k. There could be a case where I could potentially go into it again, but what I do here is I go into the Decker to give him 1 memory, because if he de-digivolves it or tries to delete it, he won't be able to on the following turn. So hopefully that works out. He goes into the metal grey X antibody, which allows him to delete a guy. He then goes into the war grey, which allows him to delete the Kiriha, which is rather unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is essentially. So I swing a security with the Dracomon, able to get him to 2 security, and now just got to consider what am I going to do here. So I swing a security with the Decker and then just play a blazing, because I think I need to just prepare some more resources, because quite frankly I need to get a push for the following turn. So I go for the Greymon here and the metal grey from the blazing memory boost. He swings and unsuspends, swings and saves, not saves, but goes into the metal grey. So I don't really have any resources, and he puts me to 1 here, and he's playing around the effect of 2, so hopefully I'm able to stabilize here a little bit, but I think I make a misplay here in going with the blazing memory boost. I think maybe I should have popped the memory blazing boost here and then go into it, because now I've given him loads of memory, which allows him to essentially go into, if he has the pieces anyways, into another Blackwar Grey. So not a great situation to be in. Maybe if I was a little bit more aggressive, especially as I believe this current Blackwar Grey stack doesn't have blocker, so maybe I should have done that. He goes into the Greymon antibody, which is very unfortunate. It just feels so awful when your opponent gets these one-off cards. He then he decides to not go into the X antibody straight away. He then goes into Alterius mode here, doesn't get to delete anything. And yeah, got an interesting turn ahead. So he swings a security, hits a male bird, and then goes into X antibody to finish off the turn. So got a blocker and a redirect, trashes the top security as well. So At this point, I've got to figure out a way to essentially stop the bleeding, because now that he's got the Black War Grey out, it's kind of hard to make some aggression happen at this point, if I'm being honest. So it's a bit worrying to say the least. So at this point, I'm just trying to think if there is a way out, because kind of need to find one essentially. I swing with the Vmon, so there's no blocker anymore, which is rather good, I would say. I pop the memory boost to go into the Metal Grey even, to go into the Grey. And I don't think I have the Male Bird, which is the unfortunate thing here. Otherwise, I think I'll be able to go for lethal, because I'll be able to go into the Decker and then swing. He'll have to force the block, and then I'll unsuspend, and then go into another swing, and then unsuspend with the Z Grey that I added on. So a bit unfortunate here, but is what it is. So I have to go into the Z Grey for essentially free. I don't think it has enough DP to go through the Metal Grey, so it's not a great feeling, if I'm being perfectly honest. So at this point, just considering all my options, I think I've misplayed at this point, if I'm being honest. I feel like in this game I just wasn't really focusing as much, so I think it shows a little bit as well. So I just go into the Madoki beta. I don't know why, like, I feel like I should have been playing a lot more better here, and I'm just not. So that does happen, unfortunately, and yeah. He goes into the X antibody, deletes the Madoki, can't do much about that, puts the X antibody underneath, swings into the Male Bird, and yeah, at this point I'm just getting ready to scoop, and yeah, I scoop it up and go to game 2. We then get into game 2, and my opponent gets to start off here with the Agumon promo, and then goes into a Cool Boy. Feeling pretty good about that search for sure, because now he doesn't have the blocker. I don't know how many versions this one runs, but seeing 2 of the block inheritable is quite nice. And I get to go for the Blazing Memory Boost here. I go into the Metal Grey, and I believe it was the Decker as well. So a decent search here, no Tamer unfortunately. He swings into security and hits a Dracomon, then plays another Agumon here to do some more searching. Nothing with the search, unfortunately. And then I believe he plays another searcher. This time I believe he's able to add the... I can't remember what the card is called. The other big guy. So I swing to security with the Gauss. Unfortunately hit a Cool Boy, and at this point I'm not feeling very confident about that, because essentially seeing 2 Cool Boy in this part is it's quite scary, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I go into the Decamon here, and then play a Metal Grey to put the Grey and the Male Bird underneath, and then stunning all of his Agumons. So hopefully he won't be able to aggress further. Hopefully, fingers crossed. He goes into another Agumon here, and I think at this point he's bricking quite hard. So he plays, I believe this is the Yuya. So he's able to set to 3, but I don't think it really matters at this point. I swing with the Gauss, get to play a level 4. I'll play the Greymon. I add the, I think I add the Z Grey and also the Blazing Memory Boost here. And this should be lethal, hopefully, unless I mess up entirely. So at this point, I swing with the Metal Grey, just stun one of them, and then swing again, hit another Cool Boy, which is rather unfortunate. He hits the Agu X, and then I swing again at security, one more check, swing with the Decker, and then I go into the Z Grey for game. I think at this point I was just a little bit confused about what I could do, but Z Grey for game. We then get into game 3, and this is obviously the big one. We've got to win this one to win the locals. We've got to get the win, and and I get to start off first with the Draco, and I also play the Trio Tamer here as well. My opponent gets to play Agumon into Agumon and then to Agumon X, so a pretty decent start from my opponent for sure. He then goes into the Agu X hard play, which allows him to do some more searching, so at this point quite worrying, especially as he's pretty much got all of his resources. It's not a great situation to be in, it feels. So I just play the Decamon here so I can get additional 3 cards. I think it's supposed to be 4 cards here because I didn't draw off the Draco. Is what it is. He goes into the Greymon virus, then into the X antibody, which is broken. He swings 2 times, hits the Trio Tamer on the second one, and then goes into the metal to finish off the turn. And man, Greymon X Antibody is an annoying card. So at this point, just considering my options, I go into the metal / cyber launcher to draw 1 and gain 1. So I hard play the Greymon here because of course I'm missing pieces, and it's pretty nice here. I swing and delete into the Agu X because that's obviously the problem card here for me. And I'm not too sure if I should have done it in this way. Maybe I should have potentially stunned, maybe, I don't know. But I go into a Decamon to stun the Metal Grey from doing more aggression on the following turn. So he goes into the X antibody, deletes a guy, and I'm just messing around here because I already know this game's pretty much over. The only thing that I've essentially got going for me is the fact that we took so long on game 1 that game 2 is almost certainly going to go into time. So it's not a great thing, of course, but this game will probably end up going to time. So I go into the Deca because I think you can put any blue flare underneath it to draw 1 and gain 1 memory, and I just need to get some resources going, especially if I'm being set to 1 or 2 every turn. So at this point I just have to play the lazy memory boost because I can't really get through the BlackWarGrey stack because essentially it's really hard for this deck because I could swing and then he could block, and then it would get rid of his armor purge, and then I can't really do anything after that. So yeah, it's not great. It's definitely not great. So he's just considering obviously a Digivolve target here because man has everything. So he stays in raising, goes to Greymon with blocker. So again, another stack being built up here, which is very unfortunate for me because I can't do anything about it clearly. And even if I wanted to clear the metal, the War Grey, I can't. So he swings into the Vmon. Probably should have just swung with it or something, or not promoted it at all. But yeah, at this point, like, I won't lie, I'm a bit tilted. I can't lie, because essentially just means that I just don't have anything going for me at this point. It just feels so oppressive, especially against this deck, because essentially if you just bring 1 out, I just can't do anything. All I can really do is stun sometimes, so I decided to go for a little bit of a Hail Mary here by going into the Metal X antibody, because the card underneath counts as a Metal Greymon. Then I go into Z Greymon for a cost of 2 to gain some memory. Well, not gain memory. Well, it is. I do gain memory because it is a Metal Grey. Swing at security for 2 checks because it's on high DP. Because this is all I can really do. Swings into a BlackWarGrey and a Greymon. So at this point, I'm just like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't do anything at all, essentially. So I'm just checking any cards I have in my hand because I don't know. Like, at this point, I'm just like tilted, so I don't even know like what is the correct play to do at this point. So I go into a Metal Grey here to stun nothing and not unsuspend, and then I go into another Z Grey, which allows me to gain 2 memory, and then I then just play a Gauss to pass for 1 because again, like, my opponent's complaining here And then I'm just like, look, I don't know what you want me to do because literally I can't do anything about this one stack. And he's like, not having it. I don't understand why. It's the most weirdest thing. I cannot lie. But either way, got to deal with this this BlackWarGrey, and he's only got one memory, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's face it. So he's considering promoting here, and I believe he decides to look at my trash, and still thinking about the option, I believe, because at this point he might as well promote, because essentially, I mean, he might as well be aggressive at this point because I only have 2 security left, and not really much I can do. I think he's just scared of promoting, because if I do, then I'll be able to get some effects going, because all my cards say 2. So I believe he's promoting here. I don't know why he's doing it so far back. So he's now got it. He swings into the other guy, which allows me to add cards back and then put cards underneath, which is good, but it doesn't really matter when it's going to get deleted. Oh, it doesn't actually this time, but he goes into the Gaiomon here and then trashes security. So at this point, I mean, I've just got a stall because I think time was called quite a while back. So what I do here is I just play the Mailbird from the Gauss and promote the Gauss. So I get a memory and draw a card from the Trio Tamer, and I just use the Digicross effect to go into metal, and it's also supposed to be suspended, my bad. Then go into a Decker to stun the thing, and he's just like complaining that, oh yeah, you just swing into security and stun, but it doesn't really matter because it just ends up in a draw.